Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We're powered by CLNS Radio. My dog is staring up at me very longingly right now. She's either very hungry or wants attention or something like that. I am not entirely sure. But in this episode, we are here to talk about two different things. At first, we're going to talk about the NBA Finals and what we've seen so far through the first two games as we set up for an incredibly important Game 3 on Wednesday night. And then the second portion of the podcast is going to be devoted to the Chicago Bulls, their offseason, and their inevitability of taking what will undoubtedly be an incredibly productive, low-ceiling college player. To do that, we're going to talk about that with Ricky O'Donnell from over at SB Nation, one of my favorite guests to have on the podcast. How's it going, Ricky?
I'm good, Sam. Thanks for having me.
I am always happy to have you on the show. It is always fun to get some takes. I demand some Ricky O'Donnell takes in this episode. Can I get them?
I'll see if I got any good ones. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like once we get to the Bulls, you're going to have some. Like,
sure.
You've always got the Bulls goods.
I hope so.
All right. First, let's talk about the NBA Finals, though. The Golden State Warriors are up 2-0 after two games that really just felt demoralizing to me. Like, if you're a Cavs fan, like they were just beatdowns in every way. And I know that it was a 4-point game late in the third quarter in game two, but you just kind of felt that run from Golden State was inevitable to me. Didn't you? Like, you felt like they were going to come down at some point. They were going to knock down like 3 threes and stretch it out to double figures, and the game was going to be over.
It always feels like it's the third quarter too. I haven't paid super close enough attention to be able to tell if that's a trend, but I just had a sense coming into that third quarter, especially in game two, that Golden State was just going to drop the hammer. And they did as soon as it began. I mean, you could just tell how much more firepower they have. To me, this is like easily the best team of all time. I don't know if that's, a bit of an overstatement after only 2 NBA Finals games, but they certainly appear poised to go 16-0 through the playoffs. No one's ever done that before. So you just look at, this unbelievable collection of talent and just how well they fit each other. I just can't even imagine the type of team it would take to beat these Warriors. They are absolutely amazing.
You know what? I think I agree with you. I'm not going to say that they're like by far the best team ever, but
it's not even close. I feel like the second best team ever is probably last year's Warriors, and this one has Kevin Durant on it.
That's probably true.
So there's some Ricky takes for you, I guess, just to start this off.
Let's kind of jump into that real quick. I do think that this is probably the best team of all time. You just look at what they have. I mean, Kevin Durant is probably going to be a top 20 player ever. Stephen Curry is probably a top 20 player ever. Whenever he's done, at least. I don't know if he's going to get there right now, but he has 2 MVP awards, is well on his way to getting there, given the fact that he has kind of revolutionized basketball and the way that floor spacing is so incredibly important. Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are probably Hall of Fame NBA players. And I can't remember, I feel like they are the best team ever because of the way that they were assembled in an NBA that is increasingly fractured at 30 teams in a talent pool that, while overall from a 450 player perspective is stronger than ever, those 450 players are still dispersed among 30 teams. And it's really hard for me to envision finding a way to get 4 of the 20 best players in the NBA on the same team in an NBA where there are 30 teams. Like that just seems like it won't happen again.
Yeah. I mean, they're just unbeatable to me. Like, no one is ever going to beat this team. I don't mean to say that in like a defeatist way, but like, we ran a post on SB Nation today. What player could you add to the Cavs that would theoretically help them beat the Warriors? Like, the fact that we're even talking about giving the second best team the next best player in the league who's not in the series is just absolutely absurd. And then you consider it, and even if you did give the Cavs Kawhi Leonard, I mean, I don't know, I would still probably take the Warriors. It just speaks to I think I would, man. It just speaks to the Warriors' talent level. Now, Kawhi, it would make for an interesting debate, but the fact that it's even a debate is just silly. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you would think the team that reaches the NBA Finals, if you give them any other player in the league, should be able to win. With the Warriors, I do think it's a bit of a debate just because, the defensive length and the three-point shooting at every single spot on the floor it would take to beat Golden State, and that's not even talking about, the cohesion that they play with and their chemistry. So, to me, the Warriors are unreal. They're just the best of all time. I would say, you said Durant's a top 20 player. I'll say Durant's the third best player of all time already. Just like
Good
based on his
Lord.
skill set. Just based on his skill set. I mean, sure, someone like Kareem, I would say, is probably the consensus choice for the second best player ever. Would you agree with that, Sam? Him or LeBron, I guess?
Yeah, I'd probably say LeBron is.
But, it's just like human evolution. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Durant could score from way further on the floor than Kareem ever could. Now, obviously, it's a totally different game. The rules are completely different.
Yeah.
Kareem, they outlawed the dunk for Kareem, let alone the three-point shot. So obviously, even talking, comparing eras like that, it's just not fair to either side, I don't think. With that being said, though, I mean, Durant is just the evolution of basketball personified, right? But what he's doing, dude, he's playing center. He is out-dueling LeBron at a time when LeBron's supposed to be at the peak of his powers. He's playing in just an ocean of space. This is so easy for him. I mean, it's ridiculous how easy it is for him, especially when you watched him in Oklahoma City so many times. It felt like him and Westbrook were taking turns. Oklahoma City never had any shooters around him. This is just a piece of cake, dude. He's got Steph Curry spotting up on one side. He's got Clay on the other. He's running downhill the whole game, it feels like. And he's playing center on defense in his combination of shooting range, his handle, and his defensive versatility. I mean, this is the evolution of basketball personified. Like, Durant, if you don't want to say he's the third best player ever, because I guess that's just a crazy statement, I guess. But, the talent level, I think, puts him, around there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. No one else in
NBA history could do what he does. That's what I'm saying. No one else in you can take, some of those guys from earlier eras, but they couldn't score like Durant can score. They weren't as big, they weren't as fast, and they couldn't shoot with as much range.
We've definitely never seen a guy that is 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan who can shoot 45% from three and get downhill and get out in transition and then also guard centers in the NBA. That's
exactly.
We have definitely never seen anything like Kevin Durant. Now, I don't think that he is. I don't think we can really call him the third best player ever in NBA history yet.
He doesn't have the resume, but what if he wins 6 in a row with the Warriors? Then what?
Then we probably should start talking about him as maybe the third best player in the NBA. But we're not there yet. But Kevin Durant has been unbelievable. That Game 2 performance, 33 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 blocks, 3 steals. It was just unbelievable. I cannot remember a better performance in a finals game, and that comes on the heels of the 38-8-8 that he put on the Cavs in Game 1. That Game 2 Durant performance felt better than any performance from LeBron in last year's playoffs to me, which is insane to say.
That's crazier than what I said about Durant. No, but
is it? I mean, 33.
Those wanted 2 40-point triple doubles in Game 5 and Game 6 last year.
He did.
No, I know Durant was amazing, but what I think it's so easy for Durant.
That's true. I remember, the degree of difficulty is way higher for LeBron, so maybe that's not true then.
I think Ethan Strauss tweeted this 5 years ago, and for some reason it always stuck in my head, that spacing is the legal PED. And that's true in a number of ways, and it's especially true when you put Kevin Durant on the damn Warriors, who just have the greatest shooters of all time, flanking him. It's not even that he joined a team with another MVP and, and 2 more all-star caliber players. It's the way they all complement each other so well because they're all so unselfish and they all have unlimited shooting range and incredible shooting accuracy. And they're all smart, too. They're not going to force anything.
I mean, the funniest part about all of this is that Stephen Curry dropped a 32, 11, and 10 triple-double in Game 2, and, nobody cares. That's how good Kevin Durant has been.
Right. I know, it's crazy. It's the fact that they could have both of them. I am kind of one of those people who don't really enjoy the Warriors. I know that this is sort of an ongoing debate amongst basketball Twitter, and to me, they're just so inevitable. It's I honestly don't see how anyone beats them. I really don't. In the upcoming year, even if Clay left, it's whatever. Who cares? They're still going to have Kevin Durant. Like, I think they would still probably be the best team without Clay. I would have picked them to win the title without Durant this year if they ran it back with Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would have too.
So if a team could win the title without literally the best player on earth, I mean, come on.
He's not the best player on earth. Like, LeBron is still the best player on earth.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you because LeBron has earned that distinction via, like, moments and accomplishments.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Durant certainly is, I mean, he's a much better shooter, and everything else, like, his defense is almost comparable at this point. Like, I would say he gives more consistent effort defensively than LeBron does at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
the big separator for me...
The big separator for me in, like, their finals performances over the course of the last, 2 years, like, comparing Kevin Durant's to LeBron James's, is that Durant, again, is literally playing the most important defensive position. He's playing center. He's dominating. He is protecting the rim at an elite level. He is getting into passing lanes, creating turnovers that way. He's diamond dudes out. Like, he is rebounding the basketball. This defensive performance from Durant so far has been underrated somehow to me. Like, I didn't know that he could do this.
He did it against the Warriors last year in the Western Conference Finals, actually. That was the first time when I was like, what? Like, he really elevated his game to another level in that series. And he's doing it again right now. Maybe he's even better.
He kind of did it in that series, but he still had Steven Adams backing him up, right? Like, he still had, like, one of the better, physical presences at the rim in the NBA behind him in that series. In this one, it's all him. Like, I know he is Draymond Green, but he is genuinely the one protecting the rim in this series, and it is unbelievable. Like, he has been absolutely incredible defensively in this series. He has taken it to a whole new level, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying, man.
That's
crazy. Why he's got me talking crazy, putting him in historical perspective, because I don't think you can put a player like him in historical perspective. And here's something I want to shoot at you. Durant, like I said earlier, like, I think that he really is like the evolution of basketball personified in a sense. It's like, we watch a lot of the young kids coming up, right, Sam? Both me and you will go to AAU tournaments. We follow college basketball more closely than anyone. Yeah. We both write about the NBA draft all year round. It's like impossible for me to imagine any of these kids could be as good as Durant. It's like, we're not going to see this. Again, like, I always think the future is better than the past, which is part of the reason I think Durant is the third best player ever. With that being said, though, I don't know if 20 years from now we're still going to see someone as good as him. Because he's a 7-footer who's a 2-guard on offense and a center on defense. Like, it's hard to even think of someone who would be better than that. Like, you would have to be 7'5" and be a 2-guard on offense and a center on defense and still be that fast. Like,
you're basically just out here yelling about Bull.
He's unbelievable.
I guess that,
yeah.
I'm, like, trying to, like, figure out, like, the player type that could, like, do that. Like, Marvin Bagley, like, can't do that. Like, we both love Marvin Bagley, but, like,
maybe.
Yeah, but, like, he's so much more physically developed, right? Like, I think the thing with Kevin Durant is that he was so unbelievable at, the 16, 17-year-old range, right? Because he was just so much more skilled than everyone. And then on top of that, he was a late bloomer physically who developed beyond what his skill level was and then added more skills at the end. Like, he somehow did he hit every single development cycle that you could hope for and he could have possibly hit. And LeBron didn't do that because LeBron was just so physically developed from an early age. Like, so many of these guys, they're just such freaks from an early age, but Durant, like, hit every single developmental benchmark that I can't remember someone hitting. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, you go back to the famous pre-draft story of him not being able to bench 185. I think I guess he's a year or two younger than me. So, like, I was in college when that happened. I remember when that happened. And I loved watching Durant at Texas. I thought that he was awesome. I was definitely in the camp of Durant over Oden. Easy for me to say now, of course, but at the time I was, just as, a college student. But to think of where he's come from, from that stage. Even he was like a prodigy at that point. He was, really the first one and done superstar. I guess but Melo could have jumped to the NBA. Durant didn't have that option. To see him just reach this ceiling, I mean, he didn't have the hype LeBron had in terms of just being like a national star that like anyone would know, but really he's delivered on his promise almost as well as LeBron has,
Yeah, no, I mean, he really has. Like, it's hard to be as hyped as Kevin Durant was and hit every single benchmark. And he's done that. And it's kind of unbelievable to me.
I just can't imagine a player that could be better than Kevin Durant. Like, what that player would have to do skill-wise to be better than him. It's just crazy, especially when you put him in
LeBron.
the system. Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure.
I mean, you basically have to be LeBron James, who is a 6'9", 270-pound behemoth of a human who also has like the best vision in NBA history, as well as like the most athleticism in NBA history. That seems like a high bar to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Let's stop just blowing the Warriors here and kind of move on to what the Cavs can do. I don't know what the fuck Tyronn Lue is doing right now, to be honest. He's keeps saying that like he wants to run up and down with the Warriors and like he's not going to make adjustments in game 3. I can't imagine a dumber strategy than that. Like, can you imagine doing something dumber than that?
Yeah, now when they played the first time, Cavs-Warriors round 1, I wrote something praising Blatt in that series because I thought slowing it down and milking the shot clock and letting LeBron go isolation, I thought that was a genius strategy, especially without Love and KYRIE. And I remember, a lot of people disagreed with that just because it wasn't popular to credit Blatt at that point in history, certainly.
Let's be real clear about this. David Blatt is a much better coach than Ty Lue. Like,
oh, that's good. I like that. I didn't expect you to say that.
Are you serious? I mean, the guy is, yeah, he obviously doesn't handle egos as well and did not get along with LeBron as well as, he could have, I would imagine. And I'm sure that LeBron and their relationship probably played a role in terms of why David Blatt was not the head coach and continues to not be the head coach. But in terms of X's and O's, in terms of like, knowing what to do on a basketball floor, I mean, come on. Like, is there a question about that?
Yeah, as a Bulls fan, I just remember that play where it was in the second round series, Bulls-Cavs, this is year 1.
This was bad.
Where he drew up the play for LeBron to inbound the ball, and LeBron's like, no, I'm shooting it. Overruled him, drains a goddamn dagger from the corner, and the Bulls have been dead ever since. They've never recovered from that moment. They're up 2-1 at that point. It was on Easter. It's permanently burned into my brain.
Yeah, no, that was a bad moment for the David Blatt era. Having said that, though, I've seen nothing from Ty Lue to like be impressed with what he's done. Here's a really good one for both college basketball fans and NBA fans. Is Ty Lue the Kevin Ollie of the NBA?
Oh, I like that. That's interesting. But you know what, dude? At the same time, there's nothing any coach can do in this situation.
Yes,
that's
he
just my
cannot
opinion.
Try and run up and down with the Warriors.
Yeah, I still think inevitably they're going to get crushed. I do agree that they should slow down the pace, similar to what they did in the first round when Blatt was the coach, as I was saying earlier. But I don't know. It's like this Cavs team, to me, started clicking in the playoffs, and you would know more than I would. But to me, they started clicking in the playoffs because they were just playing looser and faster, and it just felt like they had add another shooter every year. This year it was Korver, and Fry has been hitting shots throughout the postseason, I guess, up until the finals. So to me, I did think that maybe they could just rip a bunch of threes and hopefully try to win that way, but it's just clear through these first 2 games that isn't going to happen.
But why can't you try and do that in the half court?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they're getting all of these crazy transition or like half break looks from three, right? Like, it's not like they're being created that way. A lot of their 3-point attempts are being created in the half court anyway, and they're just getting their ass kicked in transition defense because they have no good, other than LeBron, who is their best transition defender, probably Tristan. And if your center is your second best transition defender, you're fucked. Like,
totally.
I mean, it is what it is. And ultimately what it comes down to, I think, in a lot of ways for the Cavs is that they don't have enough two-way players on this roster to deal with Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, even like Andre Iguodala, David West. Both those guys are super intelligent defensively and super competent offensively. Sean Livingston, again, competent on both ends of the floor, if not like a high-level player on both ends of the floor. They just don't have enough two-way talent. Like Kyle Korver, for as much as his defense can be praised for what it is, he's still now 35, 36 years old and just isn't athletic enough to deal with these guys. Channing Frye is older and just not quite athletic enough to deal with these guys. Darren Williams looks like he has like 25-pound weights attached to his shoes because he like just can't get off the ground anymore. Richard Jefferson is at least, I guess somewhat useful. Like has he been the best player off the bench for them in this series? Maybe Shumpert, but Shumpert again, not a two-way player at all.
He should be. He has no excuse.
Well, yeah, he's just not. He never developed into the consistent shooter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, what a lot of this comes down to for me is that their supporting cast just doesn't have enough two-way players, and I've been very complimentary of David Griffin for building this roster as he could, but I wouldn't stop doing that even though they're losing this series. Like, I think that Griffin has built the best roster he possibly could to get the Cavs to the furthest point that they were going to get to until this Warriors team kind of took it over, Yeah.
I think the Warriors would beat the first team All-NBA in a 7-game series, so it's like, what could David, what could he really do? But here's a question I want to ask you. Kevin Love. To me, that's the obvious move this offseason, right? Like, you absolutely have to trade him for ideally two versatile defenders.
Before we get to that, let me also bring up the idea of Tristan Thompson here, and we can also kind of talk about Tristan being on the block as well, because I think that's kind of a sneaky one. He's been a disaster in this series. He has been incredibly bad.
Like, yeah, why is that? Because he was great against the Warriors previously. Why do you think he's been limited? I don't really know either. That's why I was asking you.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. He's being out-rebounded by 2-1 by Stephen Curry in this series.
He almost looks checked out.
I don't even know if it's checked out. I don't know if it's demoralization. I don't know if it's the fact that he has to defend pick and rolls more with Kyrie Irving, who can't be hidden, relatively, not easily, but he couldn't be hidden on Harrison Barnes or Andre Iguodala for possessions at a time. I don't know what it is about Tristan, to be honest, but maybe he's hurt. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's all of the minutes that he's played over the course of the last 4 years kind of catching up. But he just looks like a different player in this series. And you would think that he would be the player, maybe not most equipped beyond LeBron James, because Kyrie Irving is still just really goddamn good at basketball. But he is well equipped athletically to play in this series. And it's been a disaster, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I totally agree. To me, if you were going to talk yourself into the fairy tale of anyone having a chance against this Warriors team, it would start with Tristan Thompson, because he gave them hell last year. He was always been really good against them in the regular season. And he's just sort of like that high motor big man that, is the one thing Golden State sort of lacks, I guess. But he's been completely neutralized in this series. And I think it's just because if you're going against Golden State and if you don't have a three-point shooter at every spot on the floor, and if you don't have a perimeter defender at every spot on the floor, you're just going to be a liability. I mean, that's what it's going to take to defend him, and that's why, I threw out the idea of, potentially maybe moving Love, just because it's the current roster setup that they have right now is not going to be enough to beat this Golden State team.
So, yeah, let's table that until they lose and get swept, I guess.
Cool.
I don't know that it's fair to have the trade Kevin Love conversation, especially when like he and KYRIE have not been the problem in this series either. Like they have been as solid as you could have hoped, I would say. Like Kevin Love was a -8 in that game 2 loss by 19 points. Like he drops 27 and 7. He had like 15 and 21 in game 1. Like I don't think that Kevin Love was the problem here. And it might be like relatively unfair, I guess, to like kind of talk about what they should do with him in the offseason. One more thing that I will bring up. If you put Kawhi Leonard on this team and replace J.R. Smith with Kawhi Leonard, I'm 100% taking the Cavs. You had mentioned that earlier, and I just want to point out, like...
JR's given them nothing.
Yeah, like JR, the problem with JR is that he's useless offensively whenever he is not knocking down shots. And then you throw in the fact that he is a decent on-ball defender whenever he can be engaged, but he's always been an incredibly inattentive off-ball defender. Whenever you have to guard Klay Thompson as an inattentive off-ball defender, that's going to be a significant issue.
Yeah.
I mean, Klay's getting, like, I know that Klay struggled, like, quote-unquote struggled in game 1, but it was more a situation where Klay was not knocking down shots, right?
Klay's defense has been unbelievable, too. I mean, his defense on Irving, like, that is the most overqualified 3-and-D player of all time, right? Like, typically someone with Klay Thompson's talent level has to worry about, I don't know, carrying an offense instead of just playing, like, a very small niche role, which is what he's able to do on Golden State.
But it's not even that. Like, it's not just the defending Kyrie Irving. I mean, he's strong enough to at least, like, provide resistance against Love on the block, too. Like, he is, like, switching on to Kevin Love and defending him, like, and stopping him from just, like, eating in the post. It's unbelievable what he's been able to do.
He's incredibly talented, and, you know, if he ever goes to another team, it would just be, like, really interesting to see what he could do running his own show. I'm not saying I anticipate that will ever happen because he's got such a good situation right now. In this role, that's just another reason why the Warriors are so good. I mean, I've really been taken aback by how good his perimeter defense is against KYRIE, because that's one of the toughest assignments in the league, especially when you're a 2-guard, you know, going down in position to check a point, someone with KYRIE's speed, KYRIE's ability to handle the ball and to score off the dribble. Klay has quietly had a very good series, even though he struggled in game 1, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, too. Last thing here, I don't want to continue to harp on the Ty Lue thing all that much, but like the Warriors coaching staff in this thing deserves so much praise, I think, for the way that they have just kind of set up their defensive scheme against the Cavs. They're happy to switch everything, basically. And I know that this is a lot of stuff that they've been doing the whole year, but you know, the fact that Steve Kerr goes out like midway through the playoffs and then comes back midway through this series, and they don't skip a beat the entire way, I think that says a lot about the coaching staff, and I think they also deserve just like a quick note.
You know what's crazy? The Warriors not only have, you know, the second and third best players in the league and 2 other all-stars, they also have definitely the best coach in the league in Kerr, I would say. Like, the way he transformed this team. I guess Popovich, sure. But, you know, the way Kerr transformed the team from Mark Jackson into a team that went 67, 73, 67, you know, it feels like they're just getting started. It's pretty crazy. And the reason I brought that up was just to say they also probably have the best assistant in the league in Ron Adams.
Well, there's that, and, like, honestly, Mike Brown is an overqualified assistant. Absolutely.
He's been great for him. So, and I'm happy for Mike Brown, too, especially, you know, after his very brief tenure with the Lakers, the spotlight he had on him in Cleveland. Like, this is great for Mike Brown. You know, people want to hate on the Warriors, but someone like Mike Brown, that's easy to root for, I think. That's an easy storyline to gravitate towards.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. All right, Ricky, let's come down off of that and talk about the Chicago Bulls. What is your feeling on the Chicago Bulls right now?
Well, heading into the draft, I guess heading into the offseason in general, they're in a tough spot because Dwayne Wade holds all the cards. He has a player option for north of $20 million per season. if he picks that up, which everyone assumes he's going to do, the Bulls do not have any real flexibility heading into the next year. I think as soon as Wade does that, Rajon Rondo is going to also have his option picked up for about $14 million a year. And that brings up the worst possible scenario for the Bulls and their fans, which is running back the three alphas experiment of last season, something no one needs a sequel to. But apparently we're going to get it because the Bulls, in every single press conference and every statement they make, they tout their flexibility, yet they consistently undercut themselves in actually having flexibility by doing things like giving Dwayne Wade a $25 million a year player option in the second year of his contract. And because of that, the Bulls are in an impossible situation right now. Heading into the offseason, heading into the draft, I think the number one storyline is, are they going to trade Jimmy Butler? I don't expect them to trade Jimmy Butler, certainly, but at the same time, it's going to remain the dominant conversation around the team until it happens or until he's signed to a new contract 2 years from now when he becomes a free agent. And, with that 16th pick in the draft, it's like, I don't know, you'd like to try to see if they can take a swing at a high upside guy, but I don't think there's too many. That doesn't fit their history, first of all, of course. And I just don't know if there's too many guys like that even in this draft around that slot. Maybe someone like Terrence Ferguson. I don't really see him as a super high upside guy. Maybe some people do. So I think the Bulls are in a tough spot. I mean, they're going to run it back next year. It's going to be bad. They'll be lucky to win 40 games. They'll be lucky to make the playoffs. And it's just another year wasted in Jimmy Butler's prime, unfortunately.
Let's set the scene beyond what rosy picture that Ricky just laid out for you. The Bulls went 41-41. They were the most depressing team to watch in all of the NBA last season. 20th in offensive rating, 6th in defensive rating. Overall, their expected win-loss was right in line with what their overall win-loss was. Played what was an interesting series against the Boston Celtics in round one. Would you feel any differently about this situation if they had beaten the Celtics? If Rajon Rondo does not get hurt and they end up defeating the Celtics?
I just would have been a lot happier as a Celtics hater. I think that would have been really funny, but it wouldn't have changed anything. Even if they missed the playoffs, it wouldn't have changed anything. If they won that series, it wouldn't have changed anything. I mean, there's no accountability from up top for the Bulls. So would I have been happier? I mean, yeah, it's cool to win a playoff series. The Bulls don't get to do that often. I'm not one of those fans who really thinks championship or bust all the time. But you would just like there to be some promise, some potential, some hope you can latch onto. And the Bulls don't have any of that right now.
The Bulls have no hope whatsoever at this stage. In terms of free agency, as Ricky mentioned, Dwayne Wade has a 23.8 player option. That I cannot envision him declining. I mean, it would not make sense.
Get that money, D-Wade.
Yeah, Rajon Rondo has a non-guarantee at $13.4 million. That salary is $3 million guaranteed already as it is, so the Bulls could save right around $10 million if they decide to get rid of him on June 30th. Nikola Mirotic is a restricted free agent. Michael Carter-Williams, they have his restricted free agency rights. We'll say that. Joffrey Laverne is a restricted free agent as well, I believe. Cristiano Felicio, who I'm sure you're much more excited about, also a restricted free agent. Paul Zipser is one of the best players in the NBA.
Hell yeah.
And then in terms of just like full-on free agents, Anthony Morrow. And then
just hearing you list this is making me so upset.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's like, why Wade was underpaid his whole career. So at the end of his career, Wade wants this golden parachute, but the Bulls give him the golden parachute? You don't have to pay him for his past service. He didn't do anything for you. He just destroyed you throughout his entire career. And now you're the ones wildly overpaying him at the end of his career. For what reason? It's absolutely ridiculous.
To put asses in the seats and create a 3 alphas system.
They're so bad.
Yeah, none of that made sense to me. Maybe Dwayne Wade, if you bought into the idea of him playing 60 games and then being fresh for the playoffs and getting a decent matchup, maybe you can somehow sell that. Then you add Rajon Rondo, who doesn't make any sense with Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler, and there were already questions about Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler fitting together and coexisting together in the backcourt. None of this roster construction makes sense. So
if it was a team option for Wade, it would have been like fine. But a player option.
Oh well, there's no way they were getting him if it was a team option, right?
I know. Denver offered him a lot of money.
Yeah, so this roster construction. Tell me how this makes sense. So you have Dwayne Wade, Jimmy Butler, Rajon Rondo, which on its face is just patently absurd. You have Robin Lopez, who's a really interesting player. Again, provides no shooting. Nikola Mirotic has been, kind of is like a fake shooter. Kind of fair to say about him.
He's either the worst good shooter ever or like a pretty good bad shooter.
Yeah, that's a great
however you want to view it.
And then you have all of these like super old prospects like Denzel Valentine. And, even like Michael Carter-Williams, probably 24, 25 now. Paul Zipser was an automatically eligible, NBA draft pick last year. Jaren Grant is 30 years old. Bobby Portis is Bobby Portis their youngest player? He has to be, right?
It's got to be.
Which is hilarious just because Bobby Portis is like 22 and already like usable. Like a useful basketball player off the bench. He's a rotation player.
He's a gunner.
That's fine. I'll take that.
I like that. He's likable, at least. Rare quality in a Chicago Bulls player. Likability.
Bobby Portis is likable in a way that no one else on this roster is.
He sucks, but he's likable, so it's fine.
And then, to top all of this off, they traded 2 of their draft picks, which, by the way, they selected when they were super old. Doug McDermott as a senior in college, Taj Gibson as like the oldest, underclassman to ever enter the NBA draft.
Hey, no Taj slander. Taj slander here.
But here's the thing. They trade 2 useful rotation players for Cameron Payne, who couldn't get off the bench in the playoffs when Rajon Rondo got hurt. How does that work?
Yeah.
Like, what... I really want to... Were you excited about the Cameron Payne trade at all? Was there anything about that you thought
I was so pissed. I was so mad. That was one of those days where I, embarrassed myself on Twitter because I just get too upset and emotional. That was a bad trade, man, from the very start. First of all, the reason they did it, I think, is because a year ago they were in a position to deal Gasol before his contract expired. They could have traded him to the Kings for Ben McLemore and Costa Koufos. They didn't do that trade, and Gar Forman lied to the media right afterwards, and he said, "We view Pau as a long-term part of our core." Just saying this is just so silly. It's making me laugh. That's how dumb they are. But so I think that they were in a position with Taj's contract expiring. They really wanted to get something in return from him, so they didn't lose him for nothing. They were embarrassed to lose Pau Gasol for nothing.
Well, he was a part of their core.
They should be embarrassed for everything else in the world besides for that. That's the last thing that's humiliating about their current situation. But anyway, so I really think they got suckered into doing that trade because they wanted to get something for Taj, who they didn't plan on re-signing. They wanted to give Bobby Portis a bigger opportunity. And with Payne, it's their scouting department is they asked Tim Floyd if he knows the guy, and if he does, Payne has some connections to the Iowa State people. That's that's who runs the Bulls in a sense. This is the big joke amongst the fan base, the Ames Mafia, the Bulls, getting all of their college intelligence straight out of Iowa State. So yeah, I mean, it was just a bad trade. I don't have any hope for Cameron Payne as an NBA player. I think he's a nice guy. Me and you both talked to him at the NBA Draft Combine.
Cameron Payne is fantastic as a human. He is a
great guy.
Fantastic human. He is also not great at basketball. He's
not going to be an NBA player for much longer, in my opinion.
Doug McDermott at least showed that he can be a rotation player in the NBA. He is at least somehow valuable in today's NBA because he can shoot the basketball, and if you have an athletic wing, you can hide him. kind of like Oklahoma City does with Andre Robertson and Jeremy Grant and all of these, hyper athletic wings that need shooting next to them. I know that McDermott didn't necessarily show that at Oklahoma City. They weren't really trusting of him yet. Regardless, though, it doesn't really matter. Doug McDermott is a better basketball player than Cameron Payne.
Totally. Absolutely.
And then they added Taj Gibson onto it. And didn't they add like a second-round pick onto it, too? Like, am I losing my mind there?
They added 2, I think.
That just seems impossible to me.
Yeah. They're bad, Sam. I don't know what else to tell you.
Is this the worst front office in the NBA? It has to be
I would say the Kings are the worst. I would say the Pelicans and the Knicks are also pretty bad, and the Bulls are in the class picture in the top 5. The bottom 5, I guess.
They're in the class picture. So what is your hope for this offseason? Like, what do you want the Bulls to do? Like, let's assume that Dwayne Wade ends up opting into this contract, which to me seems inevitable.
Here's what
do you want to re-sign Nikola Mirotic?
I mean, the honest answer is it doesn't matter. Like, they're not going to be good with him. I guess I would re-sign him. I'm a Mirotic apologist in a sense, but it's like, what's the point? At the same time, it's like there's not really much of a light at the end of the tunnel, whether or not they bring back Mirotic. So if you want the real answer, I mean, this all comes back to trading Butler. Let's be honest. It's like they have 2 options. They're either going to keep Butler, then they're going to have Wade and Rondo on the team for another useless, stupid season. At that point, you have Butler under contract for 1 more year. His trade value will be down at that point because he'll be under 1-year team control, not 2. And then, if you decide to keep him, you're going to have to re-sign him, most likely do a contract that will pay him over $40 million per season annually from ages 30 through 35. Because he made the All-NBA team this year, I would say he's probably going to make it again next year because he's awesome. And if the Bulls can't build a good team around Jimmy Butler when he makes $17 million a year, how are they going to build a good team around him when he makes $42 million a year and when he's just getting older? So, I mean, the pragmatic solution to this, I think, is probably trading Jimmy Butler. That way, Wade doesn't have to come back on the team, so you're not just wasting another year. Or you just tell Wade you're going to trade Jimmy Butler so he doesn't pick up the option, and then you just pull a fast one on him, and then keep Jimmy Butler. No, that's just one idea I'd like to have. But otherwise,
I'm not going to lie to you. I was going to pitch that same idea.
Otherwise, you just trade him, I guess. I don't know. Like, if you get the 3rd pick from the Sixers, maybe you do that. I mean, I'm not jacked up about that because Jimmy Butler's amazing. But they're just in such a bad situation right now because Wade holds all the cards, and by the time that's over, they're only going to have 1 year left. And then it's like, are you going to pay him all that money into his late 30s? Maybe you just do it, and it's fine, and you'll win 42 games every year. But, I mean, if they want to make the hard choice, it might be trading Jimmy Butler.
How much do I want to get into the weeds on potentially trading Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it, but I'm just saying that's the situation staring the team at the face right now.
I think it's really interesting, though. Like, on one hand, they have what might be, like, he's probably not the best bargain in the NBA, but he's conceivably, like, a top 5 or 6 contract in the NBA, probably, right? Like, we're not exaggerating saying that.
Absolutely not.
So you have that guy who's a top 10, 15 player in the NBA. Can you, like, did they give Dwayne Wade, like, a no trade? Is that something that happened? Like, can you find a taker for Dwayne Wade?
You can't do that to a legend like Dwayne Wade, you know?
Yeah.
You can't just trade him. And who's going to take him? At that salary? At that price point?
See, like, it's just really hard for me to trade Jimmy Butler with 2 years left on his deal, even though you're right that this is the time to do it. Like, I think that genuinely from the Celtics, you could get the 2018 Brooklyn pick. You could probably get the Celtics pick in 2018 too. You could get...
Can I get that Grizzlies pick?
Sure.
All right, let's do it then. I mean, why not?
Well, I was going to say you could also get, like, Jay Crowder, who also is on a really good bargain deal. You could get Terry Rozier. I want to bottom out.
I'll take Rozier. I don't need Crowder. I take Smart if they'll give him up.
I mean, I'm sure that they would like if you're getting Jimmy Butler, I don't think that Marcus Smart can be like a stopping point. You know?
Right. I agree.
So like, but you have to match salary. So like, it has to be Jimmy Butler for what, like Marcus Smart, and I mean, like you almost have to. Well, I mean, like Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier.
They've got salary cap space right now too, but that's hopefully going to go to Gordon Hayward. Can they do both those things? I'm not really a salary cap guy.
They can. It's complicated.
Yeah.
But they can do it. Yeah, I've gone over that before, and it takes a lot of finagling. They have to get rid of Kelly Olynyk's cap hold. They have to get rid of a couple other things. But sorry, my girlfriend just got out. What is that? Apple cider vinegar, and is going to drink it, and it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. She just asked if I wanted one, and the answer is God, no. Under no circumstances. Like the first time I drank it, I almost literally vomited. Apparently has great health benefits, though. So shout out to Laura. She told me I need to harden the fuck up. I'm getting yelled at right now. Anyway, I mean, if you get those like picks for Jimmy Butler, I mean, I don't know that I can do that. Like, I really don't know that I can do that. And
I'd probably do it. That way you don't have to have Dwayne Wade on the team next season. I just wouldn't want Wade on the team. It's like if he's on the team, it's such a waste of a year.
Well, the problem is that the Bulls can't do this. Well, the Celtics can't do this and still have cap space for Gordon Hayward. It has to happen after the draft. And if I remember quite correctly, Dwayne Wade's option is probably June 30th, right?
I would just tell him. I mean, you could probably just tell him it's going to happen. You know,
just tell him. Just be like, "Hey, man,
we got this deal in place. Butler's gone.
We're running this shit back."
I mean, if at that point, if Wade wants to still take his money for one more year without Butler, I mean, I guess fine. Like, I don't think Dwayne Wade's going to ruin the tank. You know,
Kobe certainly didn't.
Kobe hated the tank.
Kobe hated it, but like he didn't ruin it.
He aided it. Aided.
Oh, aided. I thought you said he hated it. Yeah, no, he
contributed to the tank.
He definitely
was fueling the tank.
Yeah, he was kind of. This team is just—it's so depressing to talk about them. Like it's.
So then, if you want my like somewhat optimistic,
yeah, like give me like an idea of okay, we're theoretically running this back, but
yeah,
we're gonna make small changes at the margins.
So I would I should look into some of this deeper, but like someone like Ian Clark, I think would be interesting if they could kind of like pry him away. I would take a chance on him. Do you think Ian Clark's any good? Do you think he would be decent in another market or no?
I think he is probably a rotation player.
I think he's pretty good. I mean, from what I've seen of him, I would take a chance on him.
I've always been an Ian Clark stan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I believe in Ian Clark as a rotation player in the NBA.
And then the other thing I would do
I'm going to make you super depressed in a second here, but okay.
No, let's hear it. Give it to me now.
Would you trade for Carmelo Anthony?
If they're running it back?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
If you're running it back, you're saying... Sure.
Who cares?
You know, we're going to trade...
anyway.
We're going to trade Rajon Rondo.
No, Rondo needs to stay, dude. I need Rondo, Wade, Jimmy, and Melo.
You need it to match salaries.
We can't trade Robin Lopez into that slot. We're giving him back to NYC.
You need Lopez, though, to like at least protect the rim for Melo.
We got Felicio for that.
That's true. Maybe.
And starting center Justin Patton.
There's no chance they take Justin Patton.
Doug McDermott's dad was his coach. That's like the most Bulls thing ever. They know like 4 people. Their scouting department is like 3 guys in Gar Forman's BlackBerry, and one of them is Doug McDermott's dad.
Oh my God, that's actually true. That's terrifying. Yeah, so my idea was Rajon Rondo, let's say Cameron Payne, because I think, if I remember correctly, the Knicks liked Cameron Payne coming out in the NBA draft in 2015. Rajon Rondo, Cameron Payne, number 16, and is that it? That's probably all it takes, right?
Yeah, do I have
Maybe
to
some sort of salary match?
Do we have to give up 16?
Definitely have to give up a first-round pick for Melo. Like, you can talk about whatever you want to with Carmelo Anthony, but, like, the guy is still, like, a top 50 player in the NBA.
Can we give him Jaren Grant and Robin Lopez back this time for Melo?
Esteemed
they gave us those guys
point
for
guard.
D-Rose, and now we're going to give them back for Melo.
That'd be really funny. But I would imagine you can't trade those guys back to the Knicks until the date that the Rose trade was consummated. When was that consummated?
That was a late trade, I think. Was it? I don't even remember.
I don't think I remember either. Regardless, let's say it's Rajon Rondo, it's Cameron Payne, it's number 16. Maybe like some sort of salary match. Do you do that?
I was good with this Melo trade until it involved trading the first round pick. Because, first of all, if I'm getting Melo, I still want Rondo. I'm making sure you trade Robin Lopez or find a third team is probably the most likely way to do it.
Wait, why don't you want Robin Lopez in this scenario?
Like, Robin Lopez is a good player. I really like Robin Lopez.
Yeah, Robin Lopez is really good.
But, like, if you're going to get Melo, it's like, you are just running just a circus. And I feel like you need Rondo to be the ringleader of the circus. You know? Like, this is full nihilist Bulls. We're going to surround Rondo, Wade, Butler with Melo. Life is meaningless. The Warriors are going to win 6 in a row anyway.
So, like, here's my idea behind this is, like, general basketball fans will be like, oh, holy shit, we have Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler and Rajon Rondo and Carmelo Anthony.
Everyone picks the Bulls Eastern Conference Finals. All the idiots.
No, there's no chance.
It happens every year. Every year people pick the Bulls Eastern Conference Finals.
So, like, I guess, like, I would do that. Like, I would do Rondo, Cameron Payne, and 16 for Melo. Or, like, whatever salary cap filler you have to throw in. But, like, say those are your principles.
Yeah.
I would do that. Like, it would be really stupid.
It's like, yeah.
Like, I would not really... Well, let me rephrase. If you were going to run this back, which there is no circumstance where I would run this back.
They have to. Wade has all the cards.
Just get rid of Rondo and, like... I mean, open up... What, if you dump Rondo... You dump Mirotich's cap hold. You dump Michael Carter-Williams' cap hold. You dump Laverne. You dump... Well, don't dump Felicio because that's a super cheap cap hold. They have to have something like $25 million in cap space then, right?
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Like, they would have, like, very real space.
Yeah. There's still just no way to salvage a situation, even with a little bit of cap space.
Well,
they're not going to throw all that money at George Hill. They're not going to outbid the Pelicans for Drew Holiday.
Well, I mean, why don't you throw that money at George Hill? Let's explore that. Because that's, like, kind of the perfect point guard to play with Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And it fits their timeline.
If you could even create enough space for George Hill. I mean, George Hill's going to have a lot of suitors.
Like, let's...
George Hill's not coming cheap this offseason.
So you renounce your rights to Mirotic, to Michael Carter-Williams, to Laverne, to Isaiah Cannon, and to Anthony Morrow, but whatever. And you get rid of Rondo and, like, forget that contract. You are at what I believe is a cap number of, like, 68, 69 or so. Like, $25 million gets you in the game for George Hill.
Yeah. I mean, George Hill's a great player. Like, I guess at the end of the day, all my sports teams are bad. The Bulls, the Bears, and the White Sox. And the Bulls have actually been the best of the three. So as easy as it is for me to say, I would like them to sort of like bottom out and to try to build a more sustainable long-term core. Just making the playoffs is somewhat of an accomplishment. I mean, it does make the season sort of fun for fans. The Bulls beat the Cavs 4 times in the regular season this year. That was kind of cool. So if you're really just going to go for, that sort of gratification, I mean, I guess maybe you do go after George Hill. He'd certainly make the team better.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
I just don't think it's the most prudent.
It's dumb as shit, but like, if we're not going to just flat out blow this thing up, then let's get real dumb. Like,
hey, Sam, too late. They've been dumb for years.
There's just not a way to blow this up unless you trade Jimmy Butler. There's just not a way. Like,
he talked about incessantly until it happens or until he signs that $40 million contract.
Is there any other suitor out there that makes sense beyond the Celtics?
I think the Sixers make sense. I mean, they have the 3rd pick. I think the Suns would make sense. They have the 4th pick.
Yeah, Houston's probably not good enough.
I'm not getting jacked up about the 3rd pick in this draft.
What about Portland?
I mean, those 3 trash picks. Get those trash picks out of here.
Like,
say McCollum.
Say 15, say 20, Maurice Harkless.
Ooh, I love Mo Harkless.
I mean, if they threw in Nurkic.
I mean, I'd much rather have the Celtics 18 pick than that deal. Or the 18 pick. Much rather. Not even close. So if you're trading Jimmy Butler, basically, I want the highest draft pick possible. I want Michael Porter Jr. I want DeAndre Ayton. I want Luka Doncic. I don't want these fringe guys.
What if the Kings offer you 5 and 10 and then salary filler?
That'd be interesting. I'd probably want a young guy in there too. Like, give me Scal or give me Cauley Stein.
I don't think that would be a problem.
If I get 5, I still believe in Cauley Stein. I think he can be pretty good. He was he impressed me a bit at the end of the season.
He was sneaky good in fake basketball. This is true.
I would take Cauley Stein 5 and 10, I guess.
And then, like, what salary filler would you need? Aaron?
I'd draft Markkanen at 10, and I'd draft Fox at 5. And that'd suck. And they would be so bad. And then I would try to get Porter next year. Or Doncic.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think the Kings do that?
Would the Kings do 5, 10, and Cauley Stein? I mean, if I were the Kings, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? You're still going to suck. You know what I mean? Like, the Kings should do that. But like, if that was offered to the Bulls, I would take it for sure.
They might actually be trying to like rebuild the right way at this stage too.
Yeah.
If Miami offers you 14,
I mean, I already know. I want high picks.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say like 14, Justice Winslow and like Tyler Johnson, but no, that doesn't really work.
I mean, that's not terrible, but I would say no. Like, I would still rather have the Nets 18 pick. Do you think the Celtics would trade the Nets 18 pick for Butler?
I do. Wait. If they get Gordon Hayward, yes, I think they would do that. I think that if they don't get an elite free agent, such as Gordon Hayward or such as Paul Millsap or whatever the fuck you want to throw out, if they don't get that guy, I think that their timeline gets relatively complicated because you have to decide, are we better off just kind of holding out for the future and becoming the next team after Cleveland and the next team after Golden State, which is something they could very easily do? Or do you decide to push your chips in now anyway?
Yeah. No, I mean, if I was a Celtics fan, I would want them to play the long game. Just because, I don't know, I think the Warriors are too good. Maybe you got to come at them. Maybe you have to maximize your core.
I
want Mo Bamba. Give me Mo Bamba. Give me Fultz. And let's go. Like, if I was a Celtics fan, that's what I want.
I've got a real dumb one for you. Do you have D'Angelo Russell, one of those bullshit like Luol Deng, Tim Mozgov contracts, and Julius Randle?
That's not enough. I mean, I need picks. It's all about picks.
Yeah, but like D'Angelo Russell was just the number 2
He's
overall
good.
pick. And
No, he's good.
yeah. Like, that was my idea. Like, can D'Angelo Russell stand in for the number 2 overall?
I actually do like Russell. But I don't know. I'd probably rather have the Nets 18 pick than that, which might be stupid. But
well, you would get the Nets 18 pick, and just like in terms of matching salaries, you would basically have to get one of Jay Crowder or Jaylen Brown, and you would have to get probably like Rozier and like something else.
Perfect. That's
so like
fine.
You would have to get other things,
That's fine. Then I would take Crowder and flip him.
Right, and that makes
total
sense.
A recently traded rule or whatever.
Right, and that makes like total sense. You can flip him and just kind of move on from there. You just can't trade him back to the Celtics. Have we just decided to trade Jimmy Butler? Is that what just happened?
I mean, that's how big of idiots the Bulls are. Is that they put themselves in a situation that like they might actually have to trade Jimmy Butler just so Dwayne Wade doesn't pick up this dumbass option that they gave him as a golden parachute for work he did for another franchise. I mean, come on, Bulls. They're just hopeless, Sam. They're not going to be good ever with Gar Forman and John Paxson running the show. And there's no accountability at the top from ownership. So it's like, whatever. They can do whatever they want. And they don't want to bottom out. So they're just going to keep drafting 14th through 18th every year and blow those picks.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really... It's hard for me to find a way around trading Jimmy Butler next offseason. Like, I'm trying to find, like, a circumstance in my brain where this season goes well enough to where you can, like, decide in your brain that we're close enough to competing that we convince Jimmy Butler to stay.
He's going to stay because he's going to get the super-duper max with that rule. The designated player, whatever. Like, he'll just take the money. Why wouldn't you? You'd be a fool not to.
Yeah.
It's so much more money. He's going to make the All-NBA team again. He's going to get literally $43 million a year or something ridiculous. It's like, if you have to do... I mean, I personally would think that you do what Melo does. You just take the money, and then eventually you strong-arm them into trading you. But you got to get your money. I would think.
Yeah,
I'm also I'm a very greedy person, but no, I'm not.
You're probably right, though. And then in that circumstance, again, you're just building around Jimmy Butler as he ages. And, like, you have to remember, too, like, Jimmy is... The contract isn't that big. It's what? It started at, like, 35, right?
I believed it was in the 40s. I read up on this earlier this year. I mean, I might be wrong. I forgot who I read who had it, but I thought it was in the 40s.
Because he'd still be 7 to 9 years of experience, right?
I believe, he was drafted in 11. So, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, I think it'd be like 36 or so he would start out. And eventually get up to, like, 46 or 47 million a year.
Okay, maybe it was an average annual salary of something like 42 that I read.
Yes, that would make sense.
That would make sense, okay.
Yeah. That's a lot of money, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you could just give it to him. Because, I mean, what else are you going to do? It's like, he's awesome. Jimmy Butler rules. He's so good. I really can't say enough about him. It's unbelievable how, that kid could not get a scholarship out of high school to a college.
Yeah.
He went to JUCO. How many JUCO guys are making All-NBA? That's a research project right there. It's just like his rise is incredible. He's literally gotten better significantly every year for 10 years in a row. I can't say enough about him. Trading him is a sign of failure. It's like my White Sox trading Chris Sale to the Red Sox. It's very similar. Similar situation. The White Sox did that trade. It's the same owner, too. Jerry Reinsdorf owns the White Sox and the Bulls. So trading him would be a total sign of failure. I mean, I think that Jimmy Butler's better than Paul George. I'll go to bat for my boy on that.
I would too. I would say that.
Or else, at least he was better last year.
Yeah.
George
he's really been better the last 2 years.
Yeah. For sure. I'm glad to hear you say that. So,
it's harder to fit Jimmy Butler into different situations.
Right. I agree.
But he, just as a basketball player, he has been better than Paul George. I think that's totally...
And in a sense, too, he's fit into every situation. It's like when he was younger, he was playing like 48 minutes in like 7 straight playoff games, whatever that was, right? Like he was the total defensive stopper, and the guy who would cut. He was mostly, and then like they needed him to be ball dominant because the rest of the team sucks, and so that's what he started doing. And look, he's actually amazing at it. But yeah, I mean, his lack of a reliable catch and shoot 3-point shot definitely limits him in a sense. But yeah, I mean, they might have to trade Butler. It sucks because he's awesome. Like, I don't really want to see Jimmy Butler go. He hasn't been on the team long enough. He's one of the best Bulls players of all time, certainly. He's really the only good thing the franchise has done after Derrick Rose tore his ACL. Since then, it's been all bad. That's the only good thing that's happened is Jimmy Butler's rise, which is a hell of a thing to happen. I mean, he was the 30th pick in the draft, and now we're talking about him as a top 10 player. Like, you can't really gloss over that. That's the type of thing that could keep you employed forever. But the Bulls, the Bulls guys don't even need that. Like, they'll be employed forever because, like, they're family friends. It doesn't really matter if they're good at their job or not.
I'm so sorry, Ricky. Do we want to talk about the NBA draft and who you want to take at 16?
I want Donovan Mitchell, but I don't think he's going to be there. But I think he would be really good. I've been on Mitchell for a while. I was an early adopter of Donovan Mitchell's draft stock.
We both were.
Yeah, for sure. I just like him. I think he could be Avery Bradley maybe, which is a really good player. Oladipo would be another guy he reminds me of, but I think he's a better ball handler than Oladipo already, by virtue of being able to run and dribble at the same time. I don't really know about his 3-point shot, but it's not bad. So I would really like him. I don't think he's going to be there. And then the 2 other guys I guess I would look at, I guess
Tristan Jackson.
T-Ferg, I guess. Like, I'm not even super high on T-Ferg, but I guess I would take him.
Why would you take Terrence Ferguson over Justin Jackson?
Because he's more athletic. He's a better shooter.
Is he?
He's younger.
I don't think he's a better shooter.
I don't know, man. I don't really trust Justin Jackson's J. I know he canned 105 threes this year to 37% clip. That's actually the most made 3-pointers of any projected first-rounder this year, which is pretty crazy if you go back to where he was at last season, coming into his junior year.
And, like, a ton of them were contested. Like, so he made a lot of really tough threes.
So you would take Jackson over Ferguson then?
I would, yeah. I'm at that point. I mean, so you're trying, with Terrence Ferguson, you're trying to draft an eventual 3-and-D player. Justin Jackson is already a 3-and-D player.
Like, I mean, I don't know. Is he, though? Yeah, I know he defended Monk really well in the Elite Eight. I was impressed by that.
He's good.
See, my problem with Justin Jackson...
He can do a lot.
My thing with Justin Jackson is, like, he literally answered every question, right? Like, he was awesome this year. He answered every question to me. But I still don't really trust him. And I don't know if that says more about me, or just, like, my evaluation of him or what I think of him. Like, I just don't see him having, I would rather have Denzel Valentine than Justin Jackson, I think. They're kind of similar in a sense that they were both college veterans. I trust Valentine's J more. I trust Valentine's passing ability a lot more, his ball handling ability.
But we talk about Justin Jackson's athleticism, and Justin Jackson's a better athlete than Denzel.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, he's twice the athlete Denzel is, and he's not even that good of an athlete. Certainly.
And, like, Justin Jackson can do some stuff like in the in-between game. He's a really good floater game.
Great floater.
Closeouts. Like, he can do some stuff, man. Like, basically, you're hoping Terrence Ferguson in 3 years turns into Justin Jackson. So why would you not just take Justin Jackson and get your rookie scale value?
Well, I think T-Ferg's a lot more athletic, and I do think T-Ferg can shoot it. I don't know. Maybe
it's been super streaky throughout every year.
Like, maybe T-Ferg could be J.R. Smith.
Oh, I think that's the best case scenario. Yeah.
That's
terrifying.
He was pretty damn good for a while.
J.R. Smith is going to finish.
He was a top 100 player at a certain point of his career.
J.R. Smith is going to finish in the top 10 all time in 3-pointers made.
Hell yeah.
That is a hilarious number. And B, it shows like he's been a really good player for like a decade. Like, he's really good. Let me get up the exact J.R. Smith number. J.R. Smith right now is 15th all time in 3-pointers made. Next season, he will likely move into 11th.
That's wow. What a world, man.
J.R. Smith. Love him. Yeah, I mean, like, to me, Justin Jackson is just like Terrence Ferguson, but better. Is there any...
Justin Patton's the other guy.
Why do you want Justin Patton?
I don't want him, but I could see them going for him.
For the reasons that we kind of just talked about.
For the familiarity reasons. And I also kind of think that Patton's got kind of high upside. Like, I'm not saying that
as athletic as I thought he was going back on tape.
Okay.
You
were like the first guy to write about him, really. So I figured that you would probably like him, but maybe not. Maybe that was a wrong assumption.
Yeah, like I think he's a first-round pick, to be sure. And I think like I was the first person to write about him in that capacity, right? I was like, yeah, like I think this guy is, probably a first-round pick, right? I don't think he's like top 15, top 16 player.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't love him. I don't know if he's ever going to block shots is the problem.
He's just not athletic.
His offense is pretty interesting.
He can pass. He can shoot. Like,
he can kind of shoot it is the thing. And he's a really crafty finisher inside. We shoot like almost 70% from the field this year.
Yeah, but the numbers without Mo Watson, are pretty striking, actually.
Yeah.
Like, it gets tricky trying
I would rather have Patton than John Collins.
I can't go that far. John Collins. Yeah, John Collins put up a historic college basketball season for his age.
He's a beast. But he's one of those guys where it's like, almost like, what's the point of drafting him? Because he has such a huge hole in his game on the defensive end, I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I just don't think he's going to develop into a good defensive player.
So
prove you wrong, John Collins.
He's under a year older than Terrence Ferguson, right? Is there a single thing that I guess that like Terrence Ferguson's a better shooter, but like John Collins is actually good at basketball, right?
Yeah, but it's like you could be good. Like Julio Okafor was good at basketball, I thought. He was awesome at Duke.
Yeah, but Collins.
It's like the game just changed. You can't really have a guy like that who just sucks at defense. Yeah,
but like Collins is athletic though. Like there's a difference there. Like
Collins is a high level rebounder. That's what he's really got. Like Collins is a beast of a rebounder.
And he has a nose for the ball. Like Okafor wasn't a rebounder. Unless he got the ball in the post, like didn't really have a nose for the ball.
Yeah, their games are totally different. I just meant like tangentially. Like you could be a good basketball player and still not fit into the way the NBA is trending, which is what I was kind of going with there for Collins. But perhaps Collins' rebounding ability is so singular that he can carve out a role as, you mentioned Fareed off the air. Fareed, I said Cantor.
By the way, Enes Kanter, really good at basketball. Like, even in today's NBA, like...
He scores so well.
Scores, rebounds it, is starting to shoot threes. That is genuinely an 8-figure player, even without any semblance of defense. That's an 8-figure player in the NBA.
Yeah, but if you give that type of player 8 figures, chances are your team's not going to be very good.
You just have to be able to hide him. The Thunder can't hide him.
It's hard to, though.
It's hard to hide those guys, for sure. It really is. It hampers the way that you want to build your roster.
Because, like, everyone's got a hole. You know what I mean? Like, you can always talk about, like... That's, like, my question with Fox. Like, I want to love De'Aaron Fox. I loved him as a recruit. But I do wonder just how good can a point guard be if he really can't shoot? Now, maybe Fox will end up being a very good shooter. Everyone compares him to Mike Conley. But, like, if he doesn't improve his perimeter jump shot... I just can't really see a point guard being that good in the modern NBA with a really questionable three-point shot. Unless you're Westbrook, who's like the exception that proves the rule.
Right. We're not about to compare De'Aaron Fox to Russell Westbrook. Man, I'm trying to think of some others. Like, Ricky Rubio is a starting caliber point guard.
Yeah, and he has, like, absolutely elite feel, elite size, elite vision.
Yeah, that's true.
Almost elite defense. He, like, checks so many other boxes. But in Rubio, it's still like he leaves you wanting a lot more. I think like that's what I would think if I had Rubio, I'd be like, why can't you make a layup?
He's gotten a little bit better at that too, but regardless,
he's a very good player.
You're right though, in that like he does leave you wanting a little bit more than what he gives you. Yeah, no, I like De'Aaron. I'm starting to wonder if I should have him probably lower than Dennis Smith, but
wow, that's a great debate right there. Do a podcast with someone smarter than me on that one.
I have.
De'Aaron Fox versus Dennis Smith.
I've talked to Cole Zwicker about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't listen to that one yet. I'll cue that up. Yeah, that's a great debate, I think.
Cole has kind of convinced me on De'Aaron. On Dennis Smith. I think that the upside for Dennis Smith is probably greater than the upside for De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, it just comes back to the jump shot for Fox. That's the only real question I have with him. Smith, yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on Smith, too. He's an interesting player. And this is a really fun draft, man. I love this draft class. This draft class rules. I don't know like how good they're going to be, but they're all just fun players, you know? And there's going to be anyone like as good as Kawhi or Durant or whatever, but they're just going to be fun, good players.
And like so many of them are like awesome dudes, too. Like, John Collins is awesome. Donovan Mitchell is awesome. Justin Jackson is like an awesome kid. Terrence Ferguson is a super fun kid. Harry Giles is an awesome kid. Like, so many of these dudes are just fun to talk to. You know what I mean? Semi Ojeleye, awesome kid. TJ Leaf, super outgoing, super enjoyable to talk to.
Knows his NBA history.
Jordan Bell, like, learned to play defense from Guitar Hero and is now, like, probably the best most NBA-ready defender in the draft. Oh, did you not know that story?
No, did you write it?
I asked him about it, and Jeff Eisenberg wrote it.
Wow, I need to read that.
So,
what an anecdote.
The story is, I asked him just like, so how did you, like, become so good at, like, timing, blocking shots? And he said he played Guitar Hero, and he basically, like, it helped him, like, looking at the screen and having to click the buttons and strum at the same time, like, all three of the factors really helped him, like, learn, okay, I need to read the play, like, slide over into position, and then jump at the perfect time, and then block the shot. It was, like, really fascinating and interesting.
I love that. And now he knows PDA by Interpol. So, I mean, Jordan Bell and I have the same favorite Interpol song. That's cool.
Yeah, Jordan Bell's. But, like, all these dudes are awesome. And that's what makes this draft super fun to me. Like, there's no one I'm, like, outwardly rooting against. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the whole top 9 I think is amazing. And then I think there's a lot of questions. But the top 9 I love.
Yeah, no, so do I. Ricky, all right, man. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Anything, like, in general? If you watch
we talked for a long time. Yeah, I don't know. I think I hit you with a lot of takes in this one. A wide range of them.
We hit each other with a pretty good amount of takes. Do you have any, like, music takes, TV takes, movie takes? Like, do we need anything else?
No. That's about it. I got most of them out of my system now. After I went with Durant as the third best player ever, I feel like it was all downhill from there.
You're going to get so much shit for that.
I already did. I tweeted it. There was a lot of blowback.
Wait, I want to read this. Hold on. Talk, Ricky, real quick.
So I guess I'll just plug one thing that I wrote
plug.
Since I have the floor. I wrote about Josh Jackson today at SBNation.com. My idea was sort of watching the finals, viewing the draft through the lens of the NBA Finals. Which player would theoretically be able to survive on the floor, as they mature and go on in the league? And I just think Josh Jackson's ability to, switch screens to guard potentially up to 4 positions with the way the game has been trending, his unselfishness on offense and his passing ability, his speed, his lateral quickness. To me, Josh Jackson is someone who could survive in these finals. He's someone who could switch on to theoretically Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson. I don't know about Draymond, but any of those other 3 guys. So I really like Josh Jackson. To me, I don't know if I would have him or Lonzo at 2. I'm really torn on this. I pride myself on my takes in these situations, but I don't know. I think it comes down to fit, really. But, Philly, if they're sitting there at 3, I think I would take Josh Jackson, despite the fact that he doesn't have great spot-up shooting ability, just because of his defensive switch ability and his unselfishness on offense. So I wrote about that today at SBNation.com. You can check it out if you want to.
And that was really good. I also just kind of look back at it, and I'm just like, you know what? Pat McCaw is playing in this series. So do we kind of overrate this guy is the only guy that could play in this series right now? Do we do that? Do you think?
That is interesting. Yeah, but you know what? A lot of McCaw's strengths are sort of similar to Jackson's strengths in the sense that, he's a good perimeter defender. He can actually slide his feet. He's kind of versatile defensively.
But, Donovan Mitchell could do that, too.
Shooter.
Mitchell
could, for sure, yeah. But, Mitchell, you would not want... I don't know. Would you? I was going to say you wouldn't want Mitchell guarding Clay, but maybe he could guard Clay.
Yeah. I guess neither of them can guard Clay. Let's be honest,
none of these guys can guard any of the Warriors. They're too good. But,
right.
Just hypothetically, theoretically, no one guards Kevin Durant. But could you theoretically check Kevin Durant,
Right. But, Jaylen Brown was also, the best player for the Celtics for, for, a number of minutes in that Celtics-Cavs series, right?
Right.
And, I'm trying to think of, other rookies that have done, reasonably well in the playoffs. But, I guess that my thing is... maybe we often just overstate, because I say it too, and this is not just you. This is something I do, and this is something people do. But maybe we just kind of overthink the whole. This is the only guy that can stand in an NBA game right now.
Sure, I think that just viewing the draft through the lens of the finals is an interesting idea, though, because when you got LeBron and Durant playing center, it's everything you think you knew. You have no idea, to quote The Real World from 1998. I think that was the tagline. It's just a different game. The game changed a lot faster than I think anyone could have anticipated. And something like defensive versatility, being able to defend the perimeter, being able to defend a lot of different people on the perimeter, to me, that's maybe the second most important skill in the game right now behind shooting, or maybe that's even more important than shooting.
Yeah, that's why I like Shemi Ojeleye a lot, and it's why I like guys like Derek White and Josh Hart and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think you've got a really good point there. Do you have anything else you want to plug, Ricky, before we get out of here?
Oh, that's it, Sam. I got a new mock draft every Monday on SBNation.com. I'm already working on the 2018 mock.
I love it.
It'll drop one day, so just keep it glued to SB Nation for draft coverage, for finals coverage. Tom Ziller, Paul Flannery, Mike Prater, they all do a terrific job. I'm just riding their coattails, but it's been fun to work with them, and it's been a really fun season, despite the fact that we also knew how it was going to end.
This has been the Game Theory Podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Android, any other podcast platform that you use to listen to podcasts. I'm sure that we are up there. This week, I will have a couple of random projects that will be debuting, or I will have more podcasts for you. I just did Josh Lloyd's, Locked On Fantasy podcast. That was a really good conversation. I think I'm going to be doing Locked On Kings. Just follow me on Twitter, Sam_Vicini. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It really helps us move up in the ratings. It really helps get the word out about the show. This Friday, I am going to have 2 more team off-season previews. Hopefully they will not be as depressing as talking about the Chicago Bulls for an hour with Ricky. That was just terrifyingly sad, man. I don't even know how to attack it anymore.
Hey, man, you just want the truth, right? That's all you can ask.
Oh my God. All right. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.